So you have been struggling with this guy. Don't worry, we will break this fight down. And after this video, there will be no way in hell Igris will be able to kill you anymore. This fight can be challenging, but there are visual cues that after seeing them once, you will no longer be caught off guard by Igris's fast attacks. As we stated in title, we will take on Igris tier 10. Doing it in time is a whole different level, but all we want is to be able to finish highest tier in order to get the most amount of level 55 gear with a chance to get something truly spectacular. As you can see, boss has 3 passives. He recharges his break bar, he deals damage over time, dots, and he is strong against wind damage. First of all, we have to choose characters with the highest combat power available. It is really important to stay as close to minimum combat power presented here, because it's not only an indicator of how strong our opponent is, but can completely neglect our stats like critical hit chance, especially if we are in red, but it does happen even if we are 1 point below the minimum required power. Here are the artifacts that we are using. This is very individual because of different artifacts with different stats you can get. And the strategy you have, for me, using Berserker set is complementary with the Scythe ability and gives me the edge that helps with finishing Igris. The blessings we are using should help us with doing as much damage as possible. In my setup, we deepen elemental advantage damage, increase break damage done, and lastly increase damage to bosses by 8%. But using this, we have to be really careful with using dodges. For the skills, I just find break skills with possibly dark damage. Okay, let's get into the fight. The first thing Igris will do is always a launch from his spot. That's a perfect moment to dodge it and apply huge defense down for him. That's the moment you want to start slamming your break abilities also. In my case, CO is one of those abilities as her support ability deals break damage. One of few things can happen now, but Igris chooses to do forward slash. And as I mentioned before, one of his cues are glowing red eyes, which were seen in this frame couple seconds ago. After that, he gives us this frozen pose and launches an attack that can be easily dodged. As before, we see red glowing eyes, so we know something is going to happen. But this time, he does not freeze in place but starts to spin, which he follows with a jump and slam down. Both are easily dodged. Finally, we dealt enough break damage, and we are going to release our Shadow Army and try to deal as much burst damage as possible. Here, Igris does one. With his confusing abilities, he vanishes underground and appears on the other side of the map, throwing projectiles at us. A good practice is to dodge first one of the projectiles to teleport with Shadow's step behind him immediately. When break bar on Igris shows up again, we have to start spamming our break abilities again to get him into break state once again as fast as possible. Here, Igris will shout to give us information that he will be more aggressive from now on, so we should close this fight as fast as possible. This is one of the most important damage windows beside break state. Igris jumps into the air and starts casting AoE ring around him, but each consecutive ring is further away, so staying close to boss gives us a lot of time to deal damage. After a couple of seconds, he lifts his sword and slams it into the ground. That's our dodge target, after which we can do Shadow Step, apply defense down, and if we can time it up with break, it gives us perfect damage with ultimate skill. As before, we try to maximize our damage and slam as much abilities as possible in Igris when he is broken. One of the next abilities that we have to be extra careful about is the commander's grab that Igris performs after our visual cue of glowing red eyes. It can be easily dodged when seen because it does not aim and just follows the direction when it was first cast. The last ability that can be performed by Igris is the forward dash, followed by a lot of spikes that appear in tracks of his dash. This one can be tricky because dodging it properly is hard, but it can save us a lot of time if we get a Shadow Step after this move to teleport to Igris super fast. Here we have an example of Igris going to the one end of the map. And if we haven't used our Shadow Step before, this would give us a lot of time to close the gap between us right now. But fortunately for us, Igris decides to go for sneak attack and teleport to us. It can sometimes be misread if we think he teleports out, but he just teleports to us. So we have to be extra careful when he goes underground. After some practice, you will be able to dodge this one with ease. After this break, it's just a formality to finish this fight. If you want to see more guides on other bosses, let me know in the comments down below. Make sure to subscribe to not miss any future content. We will cover many more gacha games in the future. I wish you amazing luck. File Minion out.